When was the last time you truly showed up for yourself? The call that changed my life. Back in 2021, Saudi started its own winter sports federation. And I know what most of you are thinking. Winter and Saudi, how does that really work? It was an initiative that started with the hopes of qualifying a few athletes to the 2022 Winter Olympics. But before I get to that, I wanted to tell you more about myself. It's easy to look at me now and think that I was a natural born athlete, played a lot of sports growing up, high level or even passionate. But in reality, this was me. But we'll get to that. The only sport that I ever really excelled in was rugby. If the picture shows, it would show that I was an overweight kid, asthma, didn't really like sports growing up. This was me. And no, it's not Ozempic. And the only sport I ever really excelled in was rugby, because no other kid can really push me. I remember once during a high school football game, during halftime, the coach looked at me and told me to get in. It's the first time it ever happened. I was substitute goalie. I felt anxious and nervous. So the moment the coach looked away, I ran away. It would have been easy to regret that moment, but in reality, it's one of the best lessons I ever learned in my life. I never really showed up for myself or believed in myself. But with time, I started to take more challenges regardless of the outcome. Started to put more effort in, and with that, I improved. April 2021. My cousin calls me. Someone who I would see at best maybe once a year at a family gathering. And within the first few words he said, he asked me, "Do you want to be one of the first Saudis to qualify for the Winter Olympics?" I was shocked because the next word out of my mouth was yes. I didn't need to know any more details. And I think he was more shocked than me, because he told me later that he had an entire speech ready to tell me to quit my job, move out of Saudi and chase this wild dream. It took some time to get through the federation's filtration process until I found myself in Sweden, driving to what would be our home for the next 4 months. On our way, we had to pick up our coach, someone I never spoke to, never met before. I remember stepping out of the car to shake his hand, and then I looked down. Until this day, he wouldn't admit it to me. He was wearing a shirt that said, "Bad decisions made for great stories." I laughed and I thought it would be a great theme for the adventure ahead. August 21 was my first day ever on cross-country skis. January 17th was the deadline to qualify to the Olympics. We had 5 months to learn a new sport, train, compete, and actually be good enough to qualify to the Olympics. We quickly became the talk of the town, referenced alongside Eddie the Eagle, or Cool Running, the Jamaican bobsled team that never saw snow before and qualified for the Olympics. We had national coaches come up to us laughing. "Do you actually think you're going to go from desert to snow in 5 months and qualify?" I couldn't really blame them. They were the experts. But I was determined. And when things go hard, which they did, I reminded myself I was here to do my best. So for the next 4 months, my life seemed like a scene out of a Rocky Balboa movie. Full-on training montage. Everything we did revolved around skiing. We lived in isolation, 2 to 3 hours of skiing in the morning, 2 to 3 hours of skiing in the evening. But one of the hardest things for me was to get used to the clothes. As you can see here, it's better suited to protect you from the sun in Saudi than the snow in Sweden. You had to constantly be moving to keep warm. It would be normal at the end of the session to remove ice from our lashes or faces. So I did a few races, and being a beginner never really helped. I did a few races, some were good, some not so good, but ultimately with each race, I got better and closer to my goal. But in a dramatic way, it all came down to the last race in January before the deadline. I remember waking up that night anxious and excited, because in a few hours, everything would be clear. All the hard work we put in would be on the line. The hard work was done, and now it was time for me to show up. Crossing the finish line, I didn't remember what happened. The race was a blur. I picked up my skis to escape the cold and to make my flight, because I overstayed my visa just to do this race. My family was with me, and all the way to the airport, they kept asking me the same question. Are we going to the Olympics? I didn't really have an answer. I kept refreshing my phone to see the results. Until we got to the airport, I remember getting out of my race suit, and I saw it. I saw the points I needed to qualify for the Olympics. I was happy. I quickly went to my parents and told them, which might not have been the best idea, because in that small Icelandic airport, we made a scene. But honestly, I couldn't care less. A few days passed by, and I get the call. Due to administrative errors, you will not be going to the Olympics. It turned out to go to the Olympics, you needed two things. The athlete to qualify through a series of races and be good enough for the Olympics, which I did. The second, since Saudi was new to cross-country skiing, they had to earn their spot during the World Champs a year before I even started. I was shocked. I started contacting anyone I could, from the federation to the Olympic Committee. Anyone that could give me a straightforward answer, or even better yet, the chance to go. I flew by every emotion, sadness, anger. I even started doubting my decision, whether it was a good choice for me to come here or not. Telling my parents was a different scene, one I preferably should have kept in private. But when it was all done, I started thinking. My head cleared, and I asked myself one question. If you had to go through it all again, knowing the results, knowing everything you've been through, would you do it again? And 10 times out of 10, my answer was yes. So I called the federation, and I told them, it's probably a good thing that I'm not going, because now I want to try for Milano 2026. Most of you would think it's the first call that changed my life, the one inviting me to the Olympics. But in reality, it was the second one, the one that told me I wasn't going to the Olympics. It taught me something more important than any medal or title ever could. It taught me that life isn't about immediate rewards or guarantees. It's about showing up for yourself, your journey, about persistence, resilience, and believing in the person you're becoming. So today, nearly 4 years later, I kept to my word. And alhamdulillah wa bifadli, I qualified for Milano 2026. To me, it wasn't just a win in sports. It was a personal win in my life. And I hope you all leave here today asking yourself the same question I had to ask. Are you giving yourself the best chance you deserve and showing up for yourself? Thank you.